So on to the soccer stuff, fun stuff. To give you a little bit of background, most of you guys don't know this, but before I came here, I was out in Iowa coaching at a junior college. Had a lot of success, and had a lot of fun, and learned a lot as well. When I was there, I also started a club out there that is still going. It was my pilot, my learning process. Slowly but surely, I remember kind of getting tired of babysitting 20-year-olds, right, Kylie? Yeah, Kylie played for me back out in Iowa. She was one of the good ones. Wink, wink. But I realized that I had a passion for coaching young kids. And I remember we were at the national championship match for the second year in a row. We had lost. And we were the superior team the second year by a large margin. And we just failed to put one away. But I leaned over to the other assistant coach, and I said, I think I'm done here. I've done all I can do. And within a month, I had heard about Soccer Academy. And within 3 months, I had committed to moving out here and being part of Soccer Academy and working with Sherry Deaver and Hudson Chavez on developing something unique for our youth in our community. We came, we progressed, we had our hard times, as Paul mentioned, but last fall I went to a youth national license coach, or a coaching clinic in Dallas. And the other coaches that were there were the academy directors for the New York Red Bulls, the Houston Dynamo, the entire FC Dallas staff, the LA Galaxy, the Colorado Rapids, the Seattle Sounders, and here's this lonely guy from Salt Lake that is not associated with any MLS club. It was an invite only for, pretty much for MLS people. So I was directly associated as the Real Salt Lake guy. And just happened that Real was playing that weekend there. And I got ripped pretty hard when they lost. It was pretty brutal. One of the things that they constantly beat into us was this idea of cradle to grave. And the first time I heard that, I was like, what are you talking about? And they elaborated for the 9-day course. They talked cradle to grave. They said, our job as coaches and as soccer people is to generate a passion so that kids will play from the day they're born until the day they die. And I took that to heart, and I really didn't realize that that's what I was trying to do out here. The very first day they asked us, and there's some elite coaches in this course, and they asked us, they said, do you have your philosophy written down for you as a coach? I was one of 2 coaches that had a philosophy written down. And not to brag, but they asked. I told them, they said, that's it. Everyone adopt that philosophy and then elaborate. It was pretty cool. The philosophy is to fall in love with the game first, to teach technique second, to teach tactics third, and to make human beings your #1 priority. In that course, I learned a lot in regards to creating and generating a curriculum. And anyone that read the newsletter, I hit on that pretty hard. One of the things that stands out with Infinity Soccer Club, within the community and within the state, and for that matter within the nation, is that you actually have a coaching staff that is trying to not only generate a curriculum, but follow a curriculum that USU Soccer has set forth. And we're doing very, very well at producing opportunities for our coaches to receive more education so they can continue to bring that to your children. I went to Barcelona last fall, right after my Youth Academy course. And I was fortunate, I actually got to see Real Madrid. I went to Madrid first. And then I went to Barcelona. Fortunately, my sister lives there. And I got to hang out there quite a bit. And I went to a place called Teresa. And Teresa is about a 45-minute train ride from Barcelona. It's where Iniesta and Xavi from Spain, and Barcelona grew up, and it's where my sister lives now. So I came in on a Friday night, and the first thing I said was, what do they do on Saturdays here? And are there any league games? Are there any youth games? And I went to the youth games at Teresa Football Club. It was my first international experience. And I sat down, and the very first game I watched was a U13 boys match. There was one referee, and he might have been younger than the players playing. The parents were 20 yards away behind the fence. When the players stepped out on the field, they applauded the crowd like they were professionals. When they scored goals, they celebrated. When they were offside, nobody cared. When they threw the ball in and their foot raised, nobody cared. They wanted to play. They wanted the ball to be played. The one thing that I can say that our club pushes really hard is our kids play soccer. The coach Pepe from Barcelona, he was asked, what's the difference between Barcelona and any other club? And if you know well, Barcelona is considered the best club in the world at this current time. He said, our players play. And I can tell you, the very first game I went to see Barcelona play, a 17-year-old boy stepped on the field in a game that mattered and scored the winning goal in the first 5 minutes of his professional career. He played on the Division I team. He stepped up, he got a moment, and he put a ball away. Because he was good enough. He was being groomed from the time he was 8 years old for that moment. If anyone's watched Barcelona, they have a style of soccer. If anyone's watched Real Salt Lake play, they have a style of soccer. If you ask those players when they started, what it is that makes it capable for them to play 1-2 touch possession soccer, it's that they were allowed to play. They weren't forced. They weren't told to stand in lines and do all these weird drills. They were put in situations where they simply played and their coaches stepped back and randomly, every now and then, gave them some feedback. If you watch our coaches, notice how little they actually talk to your players during training sessions and thank them for letting your kids absorb the game. It's the little things that matter in coaching soccer, because there are no set plays. There are no designed passing patterns or corner kicks. Corner kicks and set plays are about the only thing, and that's not in the run of the game. We have a group of U11 boys and girls that have been through what I consider Generation 1 that started at 8 years old on up. And it was really interesting. They actually play each other in league play. And they sit at number 2 and number 3 in the boys division. And I had a referee. Some of you are familiar with him, I won't drop his name. Referee both games. They played back-to-back games. The boys first and then the girls second. And this is what he emailed me the next day. Infinity won tonight. We aren't talking about the score here. The U11 boys played and then the U11 girls played. And there was no appreciable difference in the style in which they played. One team has come through the long-suffering path of defeats, while the other has enjoyed prolonged success. But at the end of the day, they are exhibiting the same product on the field, an identifiable style of play that is as recognizable as the navy and the line that they wear. One of the quotes heard from the sideline from the opposing coach. Anyone know Angel? Is Angel by chance here tonight? Angel's not small. He's not exactly the guy that's going to run the cross-country match meet in 5 years. This is the reply that the team that is actually in first place said. How does he do that? He shouldn't be able to keep the ball that long. The next game in the girls, the opposing coach, they are really good at just passing the ball to each other. Referring to the boys holding the ball in the attacking corner. And if you would have seen this, we had 5 passes in the corner, down in the corner. where usually we're trying to cross it or the other team's trying to kick it out of bounds, the other team's desperately stabbing and diving in, and our kids just kept playing the same way they did the whole way up the park and made the other team chase them. Next came the girls' match. The referees sat down and talked to each other at halftime. And the referee said, after watching them play, he goes, they are really, really good. He continues with his email. Infinity is passing through a doorway where we no longer have to preach patience based purely on faith. The model works. The proof is on the field, demonstrated by its players and its wins and losses alike. It shines in the skill and confidence of our players that if others don't start to imitate, will completely dominate soccer in the Valley in the coming years. When I was interviewed that first time when I came out here, I told him I'd have a 5 to 10 year plan, and then if you were patient with me, and with U.S. Soccer's guidelines and best practices manual, that we'll develop a culture in this community that is recognizable. Not just by the colors that you wear, but by the way you play soccer. There is something unique about the way we play. When I get an opposing coach from another group of soccer players walk up to me and say, I watched your U14 Classic girls get beat 4-0 the other day. And boy, was it some of the prettiest soccer I've ever watched a team play. He acknowledged that maybe they weren't the best athletes, but they were playing quality, admirable, skilled, thought-provoking soccer. It was probably one of the finest compliments I've ever received in my entire life. That someone that doesn't really like Infinity or kind of going against us in some ways still acknowledges the product that we're putting out on our field. My last little quick story with Infinity. Saturday I got to coach in Dale Buchanan's absence the U12 Select Boys and the U12 Classic Boys, which is a team that migrated with us halfway through the fall last year. They used to be a fireball team. We sat down and we warmed up together. We played together. We sat on the bench together. The coaches stood side by side with each other. And we coached both teams. Tavis was over there coaching Dale's team, and I was coaching Tavis's team when we were supposed to be coaching the other team. We were trying to guide them to learn. There was a sequence that I remember last year where I went to one of those games. I went to a game for each of those teams, and that ball just kept being like a tennis match. And all of a sudden, I watched this little, around the midfield, 5 consecutive passes, and it was the Select Boys. And all of a sudden, it just a couple of triangle passes, and all of a sudden, the green team, the Classic team, started chasing and moved up. And then the center back got it, and just pinged it up to the far side. And I'll tell you what, if a Barcelona fan would have seen that development in play, they would have been beside themselves. The kid that pinged that ball up came off at the end of the game and goes, that was the coolest thing ever. They couldn't get the ball away from us, and then I just had an easy pass and we were in. It was pretty rewarding. We're 3 years into a 10-year process. Some of you guys will be in college when we actually get to the level of where we want to be at as a club. But make no mistake of it, we have made our way through this community. People know who we are, whether they like us or not. The biggest thing I can tell you is that keep playing soccer. Keep learning soccer, and don't worry about the little things. Practice in your backyard. Keep a ball at your feet. Most of you guys have the tennis ball challenge in the house. I'm sure your parents love. The ball at your feet is huge. You saw the girls, the guys on the ODP list. They all have hundreds of juggles. Part of them is going home and playing. In the video, you heard the ODP players quote our new mantra. And I picked this up in Barcelona. I grabbed my favorite player's t-shirt, Nike swoop and all. I hate Nike, if any of you know about my past with Adidas. But I grabbed a t-shirt with Iniesta on it. And Iniesta stands 5'6", 5'8", and between that range, depending on the boots he's wearing. When he sits in the middle of the park with a guy by the name of Lionel Messi and Xavi, and all three of them were granted. They were looked at as three of the top 4 players in the world, and they all came through the Barcelona system. On the back of the shirt, in Spanish, I won't even try to say it in Spanish, but it translates into the future has been written, forever football. And what they're trying to say is that when they were young, they trained for this moment. These are the guys that won the World Cup. These are the guys that will probably hoist the championship trophy over Man U in the next month at Wembley. They play the finest soccer in the world, and what they'll tell you is when they were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, that's when they learned how to be good at 22, 23, 24. For you guys, just a little bit of insight, give you one little stat of the night. A player peaks at the age of 27 years old in soccer. Your kids are under the age of 16. Some of them are under the age of 10. Most of them have 10 years of developing to go. Let them. Allow them to develop. Our philosophy is player development, and as players develop, teams win. Forever football, infinity soccer.